You're looking at a glass office building in downtown London. This is one too, a subway station in Singapore. And this, a quiet suburban street in Ohio. They look completely different, but they're all built around a single design trick, one you were never meant to notice. These spaces make you change your behavior without anyone forcing you to. You straighten your posture when you pass a camera. You moderate your voice in an open-plan office. You mow your lawn on Saturday because your neighbors might notice if you don't. Why do these places feel like they're watching you, even when no one is? There's a 200-year-old prison design that explains everything. And once you see it, you'll never look at your city the same way. In 1791, an English philosopher named Jeremy Bentham designed a prison unlike any other. Picture a circular building with a central watchtower. Prisoners live in cells arranged around the perimeter, backlit by windows so guards in the tower can see everything. But here's the twist. Prisoners can't see into the tower. They never know if a guard is actually watching them. The genius of this design wasn't the watching itself. It was the not knowing, because prisoners couldn't tell when they were being observed. They had to assume someone was always watching. They started policing their own behavior. They became their own guards. Bentham called this a new mode of obtaining power of mind over mind. The building didn't just contain bodies. It controlled behavior through architecture alone. But here's what's strange. The Panopticon was never widely built as an actual prison. A few experimental versions appeared, but most failed or were abandoned. The design was too expensive, too impractical. As a prison, it didn't work. So why are we talking about it in 2025? Because a French philosopher named Michel Foucault realized something profound in the 1970s. The Panopticon wasn't really about prisons. It was a diagram of how power works in modern society. Foucault argued that when you can't tell if you're being watched, you internalize the watcher. Visibility becomes a trap. You discipline yourself because the possibility of observation is always there, even when the observer isn't. This was the shift no one saw coming. The Panopticon stopped being a building and became a principle, a logic embedded in how we design cities, workplaces, schools, and digital systems. Bentham wanted to reform criminals, but his design ended up reforming everyone. Think about what this means. The power of the Panopticon doesn't come from guards or cameras or enforcement. It comes from uncertainty, from the feeling that you might be watched. And that feeling is enough to change how you act, how you speak, how you move through space. The architecture creates the discipline. The design does the work. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Stop for a second. Think about the last time you were alone in an elevator with a camera. Did you check your phone? Did you adjust your shirt? That tiny, involuntary moment? That's the Panopticon working. This is why the Panopticon matters now more than ever. Because while it failed as a prison in the 1800s, its logic succeeded everywhere else. It's in the CCTV cameras covering London. It's in the sensors tracking your movements in Singapore. It's in the glass walls of your office and the sight lines of your suburban street. The question that haunts us is this: if a prison design from 1791 failed as a prison, why does it define how we live today? To understand that, we need to see where the Panopticon actually succeeded. Not in prisons, but in cities. Not as a building, but as a way of thinking about control that became so normal, so invisible, that we stopped noticing it was there. So where did the Panopticon actually win? Start with London. Over 600,000 CCTV cameras blanket the city. If you walk through central London for a day, you'll be filmed more than 300 times. The city watches you constantly, but here's what most people don't know. The majority of those cameras aren't actively monitored. There aren't enough people sitting in control rooms to watch every feed. Most footage is only reviewed after something happens, if it's reviewed at all. The cameras work anyway. Because you assume they're watching. Your behavior changes not from actual surveillance, but from the feeling of being surveilled. You don't jaywalk. You don't linger. You keep moving. This is Bentham's prison perfected. The watcher doesn't need to exist. The camera just needs to be there. But what happens when the control is so seamless? It doesn't feel like control at all. Look at Singapore. The government calls it a smart nation. Sensors track crowd density in real time. Cameras detect jaywalking and littering. The system is everywhere, ambient, invisible. And the city is spotless. Safe, orderly, efficient. Compliance doesn't feel oppressive here, it feels rational. This is the seduction of good design, control disguised as care. You follow the rules not because you're forced to, but because the system makes deviance feel irrational. Why would you litter when the city is this clean? Why would you jaywalk when the streets are this safe? That's control disguised as care. But the next step is far more unsettling. What happens when the city itself becomes a feedback loop? Enter China's smart districts, where surveillance becomes algorithmic. Your behavior affects a score you can't see. That score affects your access to housing, transit, loans, opportunities. No guards patrol the streets. No visible enforcement happens. The city itself becomes a feedback loop. You discipline yourself because the consequences are ambient, everywhere and nowhere at once. But the most insidious part of the Panopticon is that it doesn't just control public space. It follows you to work. It follows you home. The next two examples are the ones you chose. Walk into a modern corporate office. Glass walls everywhere. Open plan workstations. Hot desking. No assigned seats. It's sold as collaboration and transparency, but the effect is constant mutual monitoring. You moderate your voice because your manager might hear, or your colleague, or nobody, but you can't know. So you adjust. Productivity increases not from management oversight, but from self-management. The design makes you your own supervisor. And then there's the most unexpected panopticon of all, the American suburb. Manicured lawns, identical houses, HOA rules about fence height, mailbox color, acceptable paint shades. The surveillance here is social, not technological. You mow your lawn not because of a fine, but because Mrs. Henderson across the street is watching, because everyone can see. The suburbs are designed for visibility, wide streets, front-facing windows, minimal privacy barriers. The Panopticon doesn't need walls when peer pressure does the work. In every case, the pattern is the same. The design makes you feel watched, even when you're not. And that feeling is enough. You straighten your posture near a camera. You dress a certain way for video calls. You curate your social media, knowing someone might see. You've internalized the watcher so deeply, you don't even notice it anymore. This is the disturbing paradox. The better the design, cleaner, safer, more efficient, the easier it becomes to accept control as normal. Beauty makes control feel harmless. Efficiency makes obedience feel rational. Good design makes power disappear. The Panopticon succeeded, not by building more prisons, but by making the entire city feel like one. The most effective control doesn't come from cameras or guards. It comes from us watching ourselves. The genius of the Panopticon city is that it doesn't need to watch you because you've learned to watch yourself. Now that you see it, can you unsee it? If this changed how you see the hidden systems shaping your world, like and subscribe for more videos breaking down the design of power.